Right now we have our good friend Ron Keith joining us online right now. He was at Mid-Ohio
Burr.
last weekend, and he finished fourth in the TransAm event. This was in front of a huge crowd. Did you ever dream, Burr, that you would ever be driving and competing in front of such a large crowd?
Well, no, I never ever thought or dreamed I'd be in front of a nationwide crowd like that. That's for sure. And my brother was there, and he goes, "Man, you're going to be in front of a lot of people." He says, "Does that make you nervous?" I said, "Well," I said, "No, not really." He said, "Believe it or not, I don't know one person up there, so I'm just going to go as fast as I can and not worry about it."
Well, you're kind of a laid-back guy. I don't see you folding under pressure. We've seen that, Burr, and I didn't realize you were back to doing some road racing. I mean, you've been doing the modified thing here for the last few years. What put you back in the seat of a road racing car?
Well, my buddy Bob Stretch, back when we were doing the GTA days with the ASA cars, staying in touch with him throughout the year and watching what's evolved in the road course series since the GTA. When Jim Wheeler and I did the thing here, and we, on your show, we just watched it evolve, and TransAm got involved with it, and just kind of moved it up another notch and got new cars, and Chaz Howe's building all new purpose-built road course cars now, and the Camaro bodies on them, and just really a neat race car, and Bob told me, I need to try it because it's everything we always wanted, nice cars and a good series, and tech was good, and people really, high-level type pro racing, and because the GTA series was more of a club racing series, and so there was a few of us that took it real serious, and then the others were out there just kind of enjoying, experiencing the road racing type atmosphere and everything. So the pro series turned it up a notch, and the people there are very serious about what they do, and the competition was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed a lot, and so it's everything I always kind of wanted to do. So I'm real anxious to maybe get behind the wheel one more time this year.
Hey, now, is this your car, Burr, or are you driving for somebody?
Actually, Bob Stretch owns a team of about 5 cars, and he's got a partner, and they lease out cars per race. And most of the cars are leased out for the year, but the guy that owned this car that had it leased had backed out of this race, and so they had an open event. And so he called me and asked me if I wanted to get involved, and I did rent the car for that event, and so there's about 3 guys that are running teams in that series now that are renting cars for people that want to try it out. So it is available, and it's a fun series to get involved in, and that's the beauty of it. If you've got road course experience now, so you got to have an SCCA license and all that, and then to meet all the requirements, and then you can rent one of those cars and try it out.
Were you the highest finishing car from that team?
Yeah, actually I did. I was the highest finishing team car for that event. Bob Stretch was the fastest qualifier of the event, but he ended up, his power steering went out. He was actually leading when that happened, and so he had some power steering problems, so he had to come in and work on that a few times, and he ended up, I think, 2 spots behind me.
Huh. Hey, Burr, I know that you were out there, but what'd you think? We had our first road course event out at Kansas Speedway on the Roval. We had the Grand Am cars out there. The Rolex cars were out there, as well as the other Rolex series. The Grand Am series. Your thoughts, and have you heard any feedback from the drivers that raced there?
Well, I haven't heard any feedback from any drivers, but the people that I know that did go out said it was a great event, and the track was a lot of fun. And that's kind of what got me interested back in road course racing, knowing that we have a local track here now that, I wanted to get back in and get my license current again, and just to see maybe next year TransAm might come to Kansas Speedway because it's new and the venue and everything. And my understanding, the track is real challenging and a lot of fun. So that could happen next year, and if it does, that'd be something that I could be involved in, hopefully here locally, and so I think they're going to have great response out of that track.
Hey, let me ask you this: the merger and everybody waiting to see what their schedule is going to be for next year. Your thoughts on all that, man? Really, things are kind of up in the air about the scheduling for next year, aren't they?
Well, you know how racing is right now, Scott. You guys were talking about it earlier. There's so many things going on, and in the racing community, and from track owners to promoters to sanctioning bodies, they're all trying to figure out to keep their overhead down and the car count up, and also keeping it where spectators can afford to come out. So that's quite a challenge these days, not only in racing but in business too. And so, the strong are going to survive as anything, and the people that put their heads together and come up with creative ideas and get the fans out there and keep the racing at the lowest cost as possible are going to win the game. And that's just the way it's going to work in the future. And one thing about the Trans Am series I do like, that Camaro is a spec Camaro. So you have a spec tire, spec engine, spec car, and they keep a dollar on the shock package. You can only spend so much on your shock package, and really, they pretty much limited what you can spend. So when you get in series like that, I think those are the ones moving forward that are going to probably succeed in some of these open classes. You might see them succeed to some degree, but the car count's going to be way down because of the cost.
Yeah.
How much you finished fourth in that race last week? Just how close were you to third place? Did you get up there and mix it up with some people there during that run, or did things get kind of spread out a little bit?
Well, at first we were doing real good. We had about 7 laps to go, and third was right in front of me. We had just come off a caution, so we were all bunched up. And so the race was pretty close there towards the end because we had all got caught up. But I had tried pretty hard to get in front of Greg Rogers, and my goal was to finish in top 5. I was running pretty hard, but of course it was towards the end of the race. My brakes were getting a little wore down, and the car didn't work quite as good, and I almost spun out a couple of times racing with him. And rather than have an incident and not finish the race, I kind of intentionally, left a couple car lengths between us, and just so I could finish and have a good finish. So that's kind of what my strategy was for that race. If it was my own car and I was points racing or something like that, I probably would have pushed it to the point where I would have tried to pass him. But I ended up about 6 car lengths behind him.
Well, Ron, what's going on with your dirt program? You still driving the modified? Where are you? Before we let you go, give us a little update on that.
Yeah, I still got my used car, and it's all ready to go, and plan on racing, Thursday night and Friday night this weekend. But Jason Thompson, works on the car and then takes care of it for me. And he had to take a job out of town and was supposed to get back in time, and they ran into problems. And he called me and said he wasn't going to be able to make it back, and it just wasn't convenient for me to go get the car and try to pick up where he had left off and get it ready. He really didn't know that till Wednesday. And so we just got behind the 8 ball on that and just unforeseen circumstances. So we decided to just leave it on jack stands for the weekend. And, of course, I went out and helped my best friend, the Rocket Man. And so I enjoyed helping him for the weekend as well. He went out and worked on my road course cars all week and helped prepare my car for me out there. So I thought the least I could do was pay him back and help him a little bit.
Yeah, I was talking with Rick last night. He actually traveled to Philadelphia long before the race to kind of get things ready to go, huh?
Yeah, he sure did. The team owner there, Bob Stretch, hired him for a couple of weeks to come out, and of course he knew Rick's background in the ASA days, and he knows those cars, as about as well as anybody. So he went out a couple of weeks prior and helped get the team cars all ready and basically did all the chassis setups for everybody. They had a guy come in from Australia, and he rented one of the team cars there. So anyway, he was a well-known driver over in Australia, so we paid Rick to help get the car set up and try to make the best effort possible for him and me, which made it nice because I got to talk to Rick on nightly basis and everything he was doing to my car. So, I had a big advantage. The car worked very well naturally with him working on it.
Do you have spotters in this race or anything like that, or how do you help you out during the race?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We actually, I had 5 spotters throughout the track, which became a big factor because there's, some blind hills you've got to top at Mid-Ohio. It's a very finesse track, and there's some blind corners coming up over a hill, and there was an incident early in the race that the track was nearly blocked, and spotters, I had spotters all the way around, 5 of them, and so it made it real nice to know that each one of those corners are being watched. They really helped me.
Did you ever think back
in racing too? Some of your biggest issues is oil on the track because a lot of the corner workers don't see that or they don't throw the yell out or anything. And if you don't have your spotters watching it, a lot of times it can be disaster.
Did you ever think when you were spotting for Rick back in the heyday of ASA that turnabout that Rick Beebe would be spotting for you?
We've talked about that since I got involved in racing. We always thought, all the years I've been, watching Rick race and supporting him and his spotter and everything, not in my wildest dreams I ever thought I'd get behind the wheel and see the role reversal. But it's been a great experience and something I've always, wanted to do. And to be able to experience it now and be together with him still and all the fun we've had in racing has just been, pretty much amazing story. We have so many stories that we share together, and we've been through so much together in racing. It's just, it's come full circle, and even hanging out with you guys, you guys have been part of our lives in racing as much as anybody, and to be back on your show and talk to you guys and be involved in what you guys are doing here as well is just a whole lot of fun.
Well, you know what, Burr? We're working very hard on creating a daily show that's going to be an afternoon show from 11 to 1 on RacinBoys. We're hopeful that we'll be able to put it together before the first of next year. And you would be a great asset to come on and talk to us about a lot of different variety of things, from business to road course racing to modified racing. I think you'd be a huge asset, and we'd like to have you to be one of our contributors from time to time on that show. That would be great.
Well, I'm always available when you ask, and I enjoy your show so much. And we've been through a lot as well, Scott, and back in the road course days, and putting a show on there, so I feel obligated and honored to be involved in any way I can. Enjoy it a lot, man.
Burr, let me ask you, and we got to get, because we got an interview with Terry Phillips we're going to run, but I want to ask you real quick. You're a savvy businessman. Your opinion means a lot to me. I've called you many times for your opinion just on business and life decisions. So just give me your opinion. Are we oversaturated with USMTS and specials in our area? Can we keep leaning on the fans for these $12, $15, and $20 tickets? Do we need to back off of that a little bit, you think?
Well, that is a great question, Scott. I don't know. I know that, the USMTS schedule is a very grueling schedule, with everything that Todd's going to do. But, Todd's got to run a lot of races to make money. I think that business he's in it's in a volume business. So it's his, advantage to put on as many shows as possible, and I think doing that keeps the price down as well. If he can do more shows, he ought to be, he can keep the price in line where, he make it affordable for at least the spectators.
But with that being said, Burr, let me just jump in there on that thought. With that being said, the more you promote, the odds go up of losing more money.
Well, it does, but what Todd's got, in my opinion, he's got the premier drivers in the series, and as long as you can maintain those level of competition with those drivers, I believe you can continue what he's doing. Now, what happens if that show deteriorates and they lose some of those guys to some other venues, and it goes down to 2 or 3, qualified guys that win that race week after week, then that you're exactly right, Scott. You're going to lose that, and I think everything falls apart. I think what makes USMTS special right now is the level of competition that's in that series, and that's why I believe he can get away with putting on multiple big shows. But
don't you think going back to back in the same market, that's a tough assignment, man? I mean, I promote. That's no different than having a 2-day show in one market. Most people only want to spend their money. Again, I use the poll that we put up on RacinBoys. Most people only want to spend their money one night a week. And when you force a fan, when you've got a great series, as we all know that USMTS is the best modified action there is out there, but when you ask a fan to spend a higher dollar ticket price for Friday night and then say, all right, drive 20 minutes across town and do it all over again tomorrow night, is that asking too much for the fan? Not the series. Let's put the series aside because we know what kind of product he brings. But I'm talking about the fan. Is that asking too much? Are we leaning on them too hard and asking them to spend too much money when you run a back-to-back, a Thursday-Friday show like what we had this week?
Well, I don't know. That is a good question. I know race fans are committed people. They love racing. They would rather go to a race venue than anything else, whether it be a Friday night and a Saturday night or vice versa. They look forward to the racing. Racing is a seasonal business as well, especially where we are in the Midwest. And so, I think a lot of race fans want to get their fix in as much as possible between the cold weather and the rainouts and things that happen in our area here. Hardcore fans, I know me and you and a lot of people that are race fans. I mean, they enjoy it. Yeah, it is expensive, and it can be doing it 2 nights a week. But on the other hand, you're not doing it, every weekend year round. You're only going to do it in, 3 months of the year at most, depending on if you factor in weather. There's probably not that many times you get 2 nights in. Now, in July and August, when the rain goes away and it dries out, you're probably going to have good success in getting those in. But if you average all that out, Scott, I would imagine it probably doesn't look as much as you think. That's my opinion.
Yeah, see, I pay attention to the schedule of all series, maybe a little bit more. Every weekend there's a special. There's a USMTS, there's a Power I Midget, there's an ASCS, there's USMTS, there's one of these brands racing and asking for extra dollars, a Warrior race if it's a regional race, or if it's a national tour race, or if it's USAC, or if it's USMTS, or a USRA, or a ULMA late model, or MLRA. I mean, there's all these series out here that are again, the tickets aren't extremely high, but the guy that works 40 hours a week, the guy that, has a couple kids, and when he goes to the races, he has to take them. I mean, man, we keep leaning on these people for these, say, $12 to $20 tickets. I'm just afraid that we're getting to the point where we're asking the fan for too much. That's my concern.
What you got to do, I think, it's just like anything else in business. You're gonna go till the market, what it bears, and at some point the market will stop and the curve will go the other way. And I remember this very well back in the last 15 years. Disneyland, Disney World, Disney in general, I read an article about this, and they lead, when it comes to tickets and pricing. They're the master of figuring that out. And what their strategy was to raise ticket prices to Disney World, little by little by little, gradual by gradual, year after year, month after month, whatever, until they seen a downturn in their attendance. And when they saw the downturn of attendance is when they backed it off. And that's how they strategize. Now, good or bad, that's how they strategize. We're going to maximize our money as much as we can until we see it turning back, and then we're going to go back the other direction and level off. And that's exactly what they've done. And of course, in the growth period, the last 15 years, their pricing has continued to go up. Well, today, since 08, 09, that's all changed. Disney's dropped their prices. They've had all kinds of incentive programs because they've seen that maximum, and they topped it, and they felt that. And the same way in the racing industry, with all these series, someone, like I say, they're not all going to survive. Someone's going to have to, things are going to happen. There's going to be mergers, there's going to be acquisitions, there's going to be less. Until the market, there's going to be a curve in that market. And maybe we're at the peak of that, or maybe it's a new curve since 08 or 09, things could be maybe turning back.
Yeah,
so that's just kind of the way business, I think, in my mind, Scott, operates.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the marketplace will dictate all of this. In time, it'll all shake itself out, and there'll still be racing going on. We know that. But, hey,
the thing is, both of you, I got to throw this in there. The thing is, when the market will bear, but the promoters have to identify that and be willing to make those adjustments. See, that's the thing that I see.
Yeah, but they'll be forced to make those adjustments.
They will.
Economics
That's
will
where the promoters are going to have to get along eventually and realize they might be more powerful together than separate.
Yeah. Now I think it'll work itself out. I'm always optimistic about the future, and it'll be different than what it once was, but there'll still be racing out there. And the best run racetracks, the best run series, those will be the ones that will survive. I wanted to ask you, Burr, about the competition that we saw the last 2 nights at Valley on Thursday night, Lakeside last night. I thought it was a great racetrack, great racing. Both nights with Kelly Shryock winning by a nose at Valley Speedway the other night, and then the Terry Phillips, how he utilized a great restart. Your thoughts about the racing the last 2 nights?
Well, again, we've talked a lot about USMTS racing, and I've done in the last 3 years. That's basically what I've done, a lot of that, and so the racing competition is rarely do you see anything less than that in a U.S. MTS race. I mean, every now and then you might see a paint or something win by a straightaway, but for the most part, those races all come down to the last lap, and they're just so exciting to watch on dirt, especially if we have a good track. I mean, that is so key to the success of the night for the fans is the track. It plays such a big role in keeping the fans coming back. You talk about dirt racing and fans, Scott. I believe prep to a track is going to be, in your asphalt track, you don't have that worry, but in a dirt track, the way that track ends up by a main time is going to be the key to getting those fans back next week. And Lakeside was a perfect example of that. I don't think it's been a good track. There's been a lot of complaints most of the summer, but they had somebody come in there and work that track over, especially for this race, and because Todd Staley demanded that, and that's why it ended up being what it was last night. And I think Green Valley, for the most part, they worked hard getting that track prep. It was a little rough early on, but they got it straightened out by the A main and ended up being a pretty decent track overall, and you saw the finish there. So to me, those are the key things in success of dirt racing is if the fans are going to go 2 nights a week, the track better be in race condition where it can put on a show.
And guess who I saw, Scott? Guess who was at Lakeside Speedway last night?
You're going to love this, Scott.
Mike Knight was there helping with the racetrack last night.
Yeah,
Awesome.
well, it's somebody. I knew something had happened because the track was what I believe in the best condition all summer. And I do know you got to talk to Terry after me. And one thing I do want you to pass on along to him. I bought one of his cars last year, and it's probably the best car, fastest I've ever been in a modified since I've owned his car. And I remember one time we was at a race, I don't remember where, and I went to him. I said, kind of give me an idea what is the best way to drive these cars, And he says, well, Burr, he said, have you ever drove a tractor? And I said, yeah, I drove a tractor. He says, how you got to stomp on the brake to get it to turn real sharp and then get on and, and work that brake and throttle? I said, yeah, I know how to do it. He said, well, that's how you drive these cars. So I want you to mention that to him when you talk to him, that you talk to Burr, and he taught me how to drive those cars.
All right. Well, I think this might be an interview that Kirk did a little bit earlier, but I will ask him that in the future. And just to let you know, Burr, I'm going to get back behind the wheel of something next year. So,
well, I hope so. You need to, Scott.
I'm leaning towards getting me a B mod to run around our area for next year.
Yeah, stay away from those non-wing sprint cars.
Well, I've got a sprint car over there.
Scott, you need to get behind the wheel. You've been on the road a lot. You've been doing a great job with your organization here, and it'd be great to see you get behind the wheel, and I think a lot of fans come out and see that as well.
Well, that's the plans. If we can get this daily show put together, I'm probably gonna liquidate my sprint car and try to get it modified. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. All right, Ron, thanks so much, Burr. You've been a great friend. We've done a lot of things, a lot of fun things over the years. Good luck to you, and I'll be seeing you at the track soon, hopefully.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. You guys have a great day.
Thanks, Burr.
All right, Ron.
There he is.
There's Ron Keith, great guy, great friend, and a huge supporter of RacinBoys. And we appreciate him being on the show.